Hey, this is Joey, Bikeman Performance here. We're going to install a Bully Dog GT tuner in a 2015 Axys 800. Working any year after that, 16s are on. First step, open up the side panel. Pop the panels, 2 clips here, 1 rubber bungee. Take that down, you can get that out of there, just like that, and get that out of the way. And then, first step, you locate your data plug. It'll be plugged in a dummy plug, located on your airbox, or it may be plugged into your GPS unit if you have a interactive display with GPS. So we'll disconnect this. Should have a purple clip in it with 8 pins. You'll know you have the right one. Plug your GT harness into it. This end here will plug in your GT. Next step, locate there's 3 tabs here. One's DC power, gauge power, and ECM power. We want to use the ECM power. So then we get our little jumper lead that came with your GT kit and a 12-volt battery. I use a car battery. You know it'll have enough power while you're doing it. Put the leads on positive and negative. Red goes to positive, black goes to negative. We will power up the GT. So from this point we'll plug in the GT. When you plug it in, make sure that your box is on battery. It can be key or battery. You want battery. Your Bully Dog should go through the startup cycle. Now at this point, if it keeps saying initializing communication and that never goes off the screen, you have a communication error. So we need to address that before you can tune. This one is communicating fine, so let's go into tuning. Menu. You got from the top down, vehicle diagnostics, tuning, data logging, performance testing, user options, show settings, update device software, change vehicle or engine. We want to go to tuning. Install custom tuning. And there is a brief delay right here while it's figuring out which address to take out of the SD card. So then there's a whole disclaimer with warranty and end user terms and conditions. You should read this at least one time. If you want, you can scroll past it by holding down more, and that'll do a shortcut to the bottom. It'll beep a couple times and you're at the bottom. If you agree to it, press agree. That'll allow you to go on. Make sure engine is not running, which your key should be off at this point, so it shouldn't be running. Hit continue. And then custom tuning, we want to click that lower left. And then from this point, download custom tuned vehicle. And you want to scroll down to whatever tune. We have a bunch of different ones in here, but whatever one you purchase. Like say we have on this one a level 3, since this one has a durability kit, head, and a pipe. RM5 L3B. Hit select. From this point I'll say importing. Right now it's taking the information from the SD card that's in here, loading it into this little black box down here. And once this is complete, then it'll go through another segment, pushing that into the ECU. So it's fully imported all the information from the SD card to the black box. Now it's downloading the black box to the ECU. It's important that you don't break your connection during this point. You could render your ECU useless, and it would be nobody's doing but your own. Takes about 120 seconds for this to upload from the black box to the ECU. Many people ask, how do I know it's in there? Once you get to this screen, download complete, press go to finish. If you press go, it's in there. And it'll go through startup again. Go to the main menu or the main display screen, and your tune is in there. It's ready to go. At this point in time, we can disconnect the Bully Dog, and your tune is still in the ECU. It's not like other tuning devices. This actually reflashes the ECU, and it's in the ECU. The Bully Dog does not need to be in link to make.
Okay, go.
All right. So I've disconnected the GT. The program's already in there. Next step, disconnect the power. And to simplify things, we have already installed this cable in this machine, so we can show you how we like to mount them. The connector that would plug in is this right here. So we've already plugged that, or connected that. The black box is right there. It's attached to the frame securely with some good cable ties. And then we route the HDMI cable up through, away from anything hot or moving, up so it comes out down right here. And then you can see the ball mount is right there. So you mount your ball mount right through there. This piece goes onto it. And then I'll show you, we actually have a neat little weather cover made for the Bully Dog. And so first thing you do, put that over your ball mount. Then you slide the GT onto it, and there's a little clip that goes over the edge. Stretch that over. It's a little tight, but once it gets in place, it's right on there. And then you use the little 90-degree HDMI connector you have. We put a little bit of dielectric in these. There. And then this piece goes right in there. And then you press this into here. And then I roll it up like that. And then that way it's nice and out of your handlebar way. You want to check all the clearance of that before you take off, because you don't want anything to get in the way of your controls. But if you mount it right like that, it is very easily visible and still easy to use the functions from. Alright, if you're having any communication errors, first thing you want to do is make sure that your connector is fully seated. The next thing you want to double check is that where these wires are. The red wire on the Bully Dog harness should correspond to the orange. The black on the Bully Dog harness should correspond with black. On the bottom side, blue should correspond with yellow, and orange should correspond with green on the factory harness. Now, you can also make sure that your HDMI connector is fully seated in the box. Also, on your Bully Dog, sometimes there's a little extra resin that gets on the connector, and all you have to do is push that in and out a few times, and that will wear that resin off of there. And the other step is to make sure your SD card is fully seated in the GT. There is a couple that we've seen from the factory in Polaris that the connectors aren't fully seated in the factory ECU. If any of those aren't fully seated in the connector, that will definitely cause communication errors as well. Now, once you go through the tuning, if you go to tuning, select install tuning, And from here on out, if you start getting errors, it may give you error codes. If you get error code 103, your unit is locked to another vehicle. That means that this Bully Dog has already been installed on another vehicle and it was not installed. The Bully Dogs can only be installed in one vehicle at a time. They cannot be installed in multiple vehicles at the same time. Code 104, tune file corrupt. That means that there's an issue with the file, whether it wasn't transferred to the SD card properly, or there's just something else that's corrupt in the programming on it. 105. A 105 code means that the wrong serial number is attached to the file that's on the SD card. Now, whether it was transferred wrong, or the sticker is different than what the ECU really is, and I can go over how to read what the Bully Dog thinks the serial number should be here in a second. And then 120 means that there is no tune files found. Maybe the SD card is blank and you're trying to flash and there's no information in there for it to flash. I'll give you a code 120. Now let me go and see, so you can see where your ECU serial number can be found. So anytime you want to get out of a menu you're in, if it's the easiest way is just unplug it, plug it back in. So now go to menu, and what we're going to do here is go down to show settings. Show settings. As we scroll through this, we want to make sure that tech mode here says no. That should never say yes. If it does, you need to call Bully Dog and they will give you a code to unlock that, but it should never be in that, and if it was sent out the wrong way. But go down here to the next page down and you'll see your ECU serial number on here. Once you try to flash in, it'll automatically save what serial number it's trying to go to. Make sure that that's the same serial number that you gave us, and that should resolve your issues.
Alright, so right now we're going to show you how to update a tune on your Bully Dog Powersports unit. Just to kind of show you the rundown of what it takes. It's extremely easy. So first we're going to start off, we've got the Bully Dog unit removed from the machine. You don't even have to remove it from the machine, you just have to access this SD card on the very side of it, which is right here. So what you do is you just push down and it pops right out. You can just pull it out. Sometimes if you get dirt in there or anything like that, it might be a little harder to get out, but you do want to push it down. If you have to, you can use the tweezers to kind of pull it out if you need to, but it will come out of there by pressing and releasing quickly. The next thing we're going to do is take our USB card reader. This device, you just slide the card in like this with the writing facing up. Insert that into the card reader. Once you're complete there, you're ready to go to your computer. Insert this in.
Alright, so if we send you an email with a new updated file, you would go to that file. This is the updated tune file right here that I have highlighted. You want to click download. Once the file is downloaded, most computers have a little box that pops up in the lower left. You'll check the little down arrow and click show in folder. It'll show you right where it saved it. Now you're going to want to right click on that and hit copy. Now from this point we're going to want to copy that to our Bully Dog card. So we'll go to Bully Dog card. We'll find that under this PC on the left hand side. You'll scroll down. If you have your Bully Dog card in one of the memory slots, it should show BD card. Whichever one that is, click on it. Now since this is a tune file, we want to put this tune file into the user folder. So find the user folder. You want to double left click, and that'll open that folder. And now you want to right click, paste, and the new file is in there. So if we send you a new bin file, and a bin file is something that once it's put in the device, it will change what the display reads and modify the functions of the GT. If we don't send you one, don't worry, you don't need it. So you'll click download, boom, download. Look for it to pop up in the lower left. This one's already downloaded, so we want to click left click on the little down arrow showing folder, and we want to copy this. So we want to left click and then right click, copy. We'll go up here to BD card. Open up your BD card. In your main BD card menu, and we want to click on it, right click, and then paste. Now let's say, since there's already a RZR.bin in there, say, do you want to replace the one that's in there? Yes, we want to replace the one that's in there. Boom, that's in there. Now, everything else in there is fine. We can exit out of here. Now the only other possible file we would send you is a RSP file. And an RSP file would be one, like say you have a model that it doesn't know how to pull the stock file out, you would need an RSP file. So click this, and we want to download it. And then since this is saved in an external drive, it won't be in your email, it's too large. So you want to click download. And if you can't scan it, click download anyways. Our RSP files are not corrupt. And these are a little bigger files, so they're going to take a little bit to download. It's downloaded. So now what we want to do is we want to show in folder just like the other ones. Click on it, then right click, copy, go back up to our BD card here, and now we want to open up the players folder. And we'll right click and paste. And this one will ask you, do you want to replace the file in the destination? And click yes. Now, all these files are in the Bully Dog card. So now what we want to do before we take the card out of there, we want to click on it, and then right click, go down to eject. This will prevent your files on the card from getting corrupted from like a static loss of power. Eject, it'll say, it'll pop off the screen and you're good to go. You can remove it. Get you a new bin file, like rmk.bin or rzr.bin. You have to go to menu, and we want to update device software, and that will load that new bin file in. So any new settings that are in there will be in there. And do you want to load this file now? Yes. From here it'll load through, and then it'll go through a reboot. Right now it's loading it in there, and now it'll start clicking and while it's rebooting. Then it should go through the same power up cycle. Once it does that, all your new settings are on your screen. Device has been reset successfully. So I have this plugged in to a USB mini to a power supply just so I can power it up. I'm not sucking any data through this, but this would act the same way if it was in your vehicle with the battery powering it up. So once this comes up, I'm going to explain a few of the different functions of the Bully Dog and how to change them. The first is the display and what you're looking at. So most Bully Dogs come with the two displays on top, which you can change around. So if you want to toggle between them, you can hit, and then it'll highlight boost. So like if you want that to be barometric pressure, absolute PSI, throttle percentage, battery, whatever, you can scroll through it. Now to make this one something else, you can hit the gauge button and it'll bounce over to it, and you can bounce that around, make that whatever you want it to be. Now say you want the displays to be on the bottom. All you have to do is hold down the gauge button till it beeps, and now they're on the bottom. You can also make this a 4 display by doing that again. Hold it down, and now you have it a quad display. Now there's more functions in here that are very useful. You can go to vehicle diagnostics. On some vehicles you can read and check codes and also clear them. You would go to that, hit select, and it would be copying fault codes to memory. And since I'm plugged in through this cord, I'm not hooked into the ECU, it won't find any, of course. But there's also data logging. We can go into that. If you want to record your run, you can record up to 15 minutes at a time, and it'll save it to the SD card. So say we want to record certain things. On this one, let's see, we want to set our parameters before we do anything. Select, and it tells you that speed and RPM will always be data logged on top of whatever channels that you pick. So parameter number 1, select. Right now it's pyro, so pyro is the exhaust temperature sensor in the belly of the pipe. Now if we want to change that, we can go clear it and then arrow down. We can make it whatever we want. I'm going to set that back to pyro because that's the way we have this one set up and it works really good. Now we can go down and set parameter 2. So you can see on this one we've gone through, set pyro, coolant, throttle, intake temp, timing. We have knock retard is a good one because it tells you if the ECU is trying to retard. So we'll do that on PTO and mag so we can see if either cylinder is trying to detune, and that'll give us a good indication that the unit is running as it should be. So then after all these are set, we'll go back, set a trigger value, and on this one we'll do once the speed reaches 10 miles an hour, it'll automatically start data logging. So we'll go back, go up to start, and once we hit start, it'll say waiting for trigger. So test starts when vehicle reads trigger value, which is 10 miles an hour. If this was on the sled, we took off riding, as soon as we hit 10 miles an hour, it's data logging until we tell it to stop data logging. So now let's go to performance testing. This is another sweet thing. Just a little warning, please use it responsibly. Don't do it on public roads. So you click performance test, and then after you do that, it'll say initializing. It'll start once vehicle reads speed, just like the other one did, except for it'll record for a certain length of time, and then once it's done, you can go down to test results. It'll show you what your different times are. So it'll show your 60 foot, 0 to 60, 8th mile, 8th mile per hour, quarter mile seconds, and quarter mile per hour.